Good morning, students. Welcome to the history class. Today I am going to start a new chapter. Chapter 3, first phase of the Indian national movement. Indian national movement can be divided into three categories. They are the early nationalist phase, and the second phase is assertive phase, that is 1907 to 1916, and the third phase is known as the Gandhian era. It is 1916 to 1947. In the initial years, Congress was led by a group of leaders who are known as the early nationalists, and these leaders got Western education and they were professional. And these leaders belong to different places of the country. Let us see the name of these leaders. First is W.C. Banerjee, Rash Bihari Ghosh, Surendranath Banerjee, and R.C. Dutt. They all belong to Bengal. And next, Dadabhai Naoroji, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Firoz Shah Mehta, and Justice Randall. They belong to Maharashtra and Gujarat. And again, P.R. Naidu, Subramanian Iyer, Anand Chalu from Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. Then again, Pandit Madan Mohan Malaviya belonged to UP. These leaders were moderate in nature and they were loyal to the British Crown. They asked for constitutional reforms within the limit of the British rule, and they had faith in the British sense of justice and fair play. Now let us see what were the demands of the early nationalists. Here many points I have written them. So one of the main demands of the early nationalists was that abolition of the Indian Council. Abolition means cancellation. And next is the expansion of the legislative council as well as legislative assemblies, both in province as well as in center. Means they want to expand this legislative council as well as legislative assemblies so that more representatives to be added. That provinces means the regions which were governed by the British is known as provinces. And again, they wanted more numbers in this council. They want more representation of Indians in this legislative council as well as the legislative assemblies. And next is that they demanded for Swaraj and self-government in the 19th century within the British India. This was also another aim of the early nationalists. And finally, that they wanted adequate representation of Indians in the council of viceroy as well as governors. So these were the main demand of the early nationalists. The next I am going to explain about the economic reforms of the early nationalists. The first is that the reduction in land revenue and protection of peasants against the unjust demand of Seminars. Means the British government is collecting more land revenue, and the Seminars also demand more from the peasants. So that should be dropped. That was one of their main demand. And another is that the reduction in expenditure on army. Means the British government is spending lakhs of rupees on army. That is to be stopped. And the saved money to be spent for the welfare of people on education and health matters. And another demand is that their economic reform is that an inquiry into growing poverty. Poverty means the starvation or a state of having nothing to eat. So that should be investigated. That is another point. And the next is that the credit to farmers by agricultural bank. So agricultural bank to be set up to give more loans to the farmers. And the next is that industrial protection through heavy taxes. Means if government impose more tax on the imported goods from abroad to India, which will become more costly in India, naturally its demand will decrease and the people will purchase more of Indian goods and thereby Indian industries will flourish. So this is the another demand of economic reforms of the early nationalists. The administrative demands of the early nationalists. One of the first and foremost demand was the Indianization of service. See, they demanded that Indianization of service. For this purpose, simultaneous Indian civil service examination to be held both in England and in India. And another demand is that separation of executive from the judiciary so as to check the misuse of power by the bureaucrat as well as the police. And yet another is that increasing in the power of local bodies at the same time reduce the government control over the local bodies. Next is that the repeal of Arms Act and the License Act. So it was Lord Lytton who imposed that the Arms Act and the License Act. According to that, Indians are not allowed to carry any weapons, so that to be repealed. But it was later cancelled by Lord Ripon. And another is that the spread of primary education among the masses. And finally, that improvement of police system to be honest and sincere, so that the even common men should approach the police authorities. The next point that I am going to explain is the defense of civil right. What the early nationalist has done to protect the civil right? 3 points are here, so that is very relevant. First is that removal of restrictions on press and freedom of speech. Earlier, the government has imposed restrictions on the newspapers and the freedom of speech, so that should be removed. And the second demand is that abolition of Preventive Detention Act. So, according to this act, the government has the right to arrest and imprison any person without any reason. So, that should be dropped. So, this is the another demand of early nationalists. And they also demanded that the restoration of individual rights. It means the individual right to be restored. Restored means to bring back again. And the other demand was that restoration of right to assemble and form organization. Means the right of the individuals to assemble or to gather and form public associations or organizations were denied by the British government. So they also demanded that the same to be bring back again. Let us see that the methods of early nationalists. So here total 3 points are here. So let us see that first is that they hold meetings and the speeches were made and the resolutions were passed on important topic and sent it to the government. And another point is that they made use of press to criticize the government policies, or they used the newspapers to criticize the government policies. And finally, they sent memorandums and petitions to the government officials as well as to the British Parliament. These memorandums and petitions were very carefully drafted with facts and argument. So like that they worked. So these are the main points. What are the second set of methods used by the early nationalists? The first is that they made use of 3 P's. The 3 P's are, first is the petitions, prayers and protest. Means in order to achieve their demands from the British, they followed these methods: petitions, prayers and protest. And another is that they formed a British Committee of Indian National Congress in London in 1889, and it also published a weekly journal known as In India, in order to bring or in order to present India's case before the British public. And they also sent the deputation of Indians to Britain in order to influence the politicians and the public there, and in order to create a sympathy for India's cause in Britain. For this purpose, that Dadabhai Naoroji was sent to England, and a major part of his life is spent there. He could met a large number of politicians and people there and make them convince the true state of affairs of Indians. With this, today's video has been completed, and I will come with another video in the next class. Thank you.